Hi, I'm ZSH Plays. Welcome to The Lost World. We're going to be building a complete recreation of Michael Crichton's The Lost World in Jurassic World Evolution 2. I've had so many requests to do this off the back of my Building Jurassic Park series, so let's go. So we're here on the Isla Sorna map, which is split into 3 buildable areas, and today we're going to be in the top area building the manufacturing centre where all the dinosaurs for Jurassic Park were created, and the beginnings of the river that runs the whole way through the island. After that we'll move on to the central area where we'll be building the T-Rex nest and the high hide where the characters watch the dinosaurs in the river, and then finally in this area at the bottom we'll be building the raptor nest. So the first thing we're going to do is raise the terrain in this area here in order to create the ridge the worker village and the factory and everything else sits on. If you've not read the Lost World novel, the island is very similar to how it is in the film. The story's quite a lot different. There's no San Diego in it, but in terms of the island and the dinosaurs, it's very similar. So we have 3 new species of dinosaur in this park that are not in Jurassic Park itself because they hadn't been moved there yet. And most of the action in terms of InGen takes place on this big ridge at the top of the island here, where there is a huge manufacturing facility where the dinosaurs were actually grown. The little facility that you see in the Jurassic Park film turned out to be more for show than where they were actually grown. So we need quite a big space here to fit everything in. It's described as a massive complex in the novel. You've got the actual manufacturing facility where the dinosaurs were grown and incubated. You've got all the support buildings for the staff, science labs, garages, living quarters, all sorts of stuff. So we're going to need a whole lot of space up here to do that. It should be a pretty sheer rock face here, and I struggle to do that in this game, to be honest. I'm not sure if there's a way to do that, but I didn't find it. But I've used a lot of the painting tools so that the edge of the cliff is entirely made out of rock, which gives it that sort of cliff face look that we are going for. And now I'm adding in the river which runs all the way through this part of the island. It starts off in a big marshy area at the top where lots of dinosaurs live, comes down to here in the centre of the island, and then it moves on down to the bottom of the island and terminates in the area where the raptor's nest is. So I'm just going to extend it down to there now. In the novel there's an issue with disease on the island, which is one of the reasons the dinosaurs were all just released to roam free. And when some of the dinosaurs die, they're drifting down river and ending up at the end of the river where the raptor nest is, and the raptors are eating the corpses as well as hunting the other dinosaurs. So with that done, let's move on to the manufacturing complex. So Michael Crichton describes how Malcolm and the others are driving along a road on the side of the ridge here, and they go past a couple of guard posts and then round a bend and see this enormous complex in front of them. So I'm going to put the road in and then we'll get started on all the buildings. So it's quite tricky doing roads in terrain that's as hilly as this, so I'm being quite careful about where I put it to make it look as natural as possible, and then we'll go back and smooth all the terrain out afterwards. So for the guard posts, I'm actually using the DFW toilets or restrooms and putting them in backwards, and they actually look pretty good. You can't see that it's the toilets, that's all hidden on the other side of the road in the forest, and just looks like a nice little utility building that could be used as a guard post or something like that. And we'll put some lights outside as well as a sort of checkpoint. There should be a barrier actually across the road, but no way of doing that in Jurassic World Evolution 2. And then we're going to put another one in here for the second guard post, and then we'll move on and start building the complex. I'm going to be using a mixture of the Jurassic Park and the DFW buildings throughout this to get as much variety as possible and go for the most industrial looking buildings. This wouldn't have been as themed or as attractive as the Jurassic Park itself. This is a behind the scenes facility, so they're not going to be spending huge amounts of money making it look amazing. It's going to look functional. So we'll put back a lot of the foliage that got lost when we put the roads in, and then we'll start working on the complex itself. While I finish that off, a big thank you to everyone who commented and made suggestions on my Jurassic Park series. Got loads of ideas from the comments for future videos, including this one, so thank you very much for that. Yesterday we hit 1,000 subscribers on the channel, which is very pleasing. So thank you for subscribing as well, and if you haven't subscribed, you know what to do. So onto the complex. In the novel, this is described as having an enormous building in the middle, the size of 2 football fields, plus a huge power plant, cottages and all sorts of other stuff. We don't have any buildings that are that big in the game, so I'm going to use the DFW large hotel, which doesn't look anything like a hotel. It's a much more industrial look to it, which I think will fit really nicely with what we're trying to achieve here. And just put a load of these next to each other to simulate the sort of manufacturing building. Obviously that would need to be big if you're going to be manufacturing dinosaurs. And then we're going to put a load of paths in and give it a sort of concrete-y feel. One of the things I really like about Jurassic World Evolution is how simple to use the path tool is. You can literally use it to make big blocks of concrete. You can have straight lines, nice curves. It's really easy to make particular shapes with this, like I'm doing here. So you can actually fill in areas of path, and it's all just really simple, unlike in some other games that will remain nameless. And then behind those buildings, I'm going to put a hatchery in, so we can get our dinosaurs into the park. And then in front of it, the big power plant as described in the novel. And speaking of dinosaurs, I appreciate you haven't seen any yet, but don't worry, there's going to be a lot along in a minute. The first dinosaur that we're going to add into the park is also the first of the new dinosaurs in the Lost World, which is Carnotaurus. In the novel, the Carnotaurus lives in the visitor centre. It's taken it over. Not actually in, it's not like tucked up in bed or anything, but in the facility area is where it's made its territory. We're going to have it roaming around in the facility when we're done. I'll put some pylons running around as well, just to make it look like it's active, and we'll get various other buildings put into the front of it as well to start to fill this place up and make it feel like an industrial complex. And like I say, I'm using a mixture of the Jurassic Park era and the DFW era buildings, whatever looks the most industrial. And even though we're in sandbox mode, we still need to make sure all the paths connect up to the arrival point, which I've just put in. So we'll have two sets of paths going into there. And again, we'll hide as much of the second set of paths as possible with more foliage. As much as I miss the ability to be able to place single trees exactly where you want them, it's something so satisfying about using the forest and other foliage tools in this game, just being able to paint huge areas with trees that are all randomly arranged to look natural is really useful, especially when you're trying to do huge parks like this. I'm going to put some decorations in the front, not too much, just something to make it look a bit nicer, and a bit of planting up as well. And then just a couple more buildings, a few more decorations, and we are ready to add the first dinosaur into the park. Time for the Carnotaur. I love these guys. In the novel, it's described as being able to change the colour of its skin, so I've coloured it green and brown so it matches the foliage that it's just emerged from. Noisy boy. So the last thing we're going to do today is make the marshy area that the river begins from, so we can absolutely fill this with dinosaurs. We're going to be adding in so many species now. Apatosaurus, Stegosaurus, Triceratops, Parasaurolophus and Dryosaurus. And I've done a load more work on foliage and things like that off camera so that everything looks perfect when it's done. So I really hope you enjoy the cinematics at the end. Hopefully I've captured that Lost World feeling. Except for the fence around the manufacturing area, there are no barriers at all anywhere in this park. We're just going to let life find a way and see what the dinosaurs get up to when we put them in there. It's the first time I've actually built anything without barriers, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. So thank you so much for watching as always. I will see you next week when we will continue the Lost World with the High Hide and the T-Rex nest. Thanks for watching.